She's passionate about helping you become the best mama you can be and is pulling back the curtain on experts' advice for every area of our lives, from eating for wellness, the best advice for littles, fashion and style, and everything in between. Get ready to get real. This is Not Your Mama's Podcast with your host, Christina Francie.
Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of Not Your Mama's Podcast. My name is Christina, and today we're going to be talking about picky eaters. Cara DeArmond is a speech pathologist from TikTok Therapy, which helps children with speech, feeding, occupational, and myofunctional therapy, and is located in Henderson, Nevada. Cara, welcome to the show. It's so exciting to have you on. I can't wait to have your knowledge bless our audience. I know this is something that I've struggled with, my child being a picky eater. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and how long you've worked with feeding specifically?
Okay, so I have my master's degree in speech and language pathology. I'm a certified speech and language pathologist. I have been working with pediatric feeding disorders for 2 years. It's something I'm really passionate about. What else do you want to know?
Yeah. So what would you tell parents? How can they handle their picky eaters? Like, what is something that you would give advice to a parent?
Okay. So first, when a parent comes in, there's so many things that can cause picky eating. So we have to look at it as at a structural and functional standpoint. So are there medical issues that could be causing the picky eating? So like, are there allergies or are there histories of a feeding tube, which makes them avoidant to certain foods? We have to look at a behavioral aspect. So like, do they need distractions to eat? Or they eat differently around different people and places. So is it behavioral? And then we have to look at it at a sensory standpoint too. So is it certain categories of food, certain textures of food that they are, resistant to trying? Are they brand specific? Will they'll only eat a certain kind of chicken nugget? And then we have to look at it at an oral motor function standpoint. So are they able to manipulate the food in a certain way using, their lips and their tongue and their cheeks? And do they have the appropriate mature chewing pattern that they should have at a certain age? So we look at it at this whole, it's not just like, oh, my kid is a picky eater. Like, how can I help them? And what can we do? We have to look at the big picture of all these different components that can impact feeding.
Yeah. No, I struggled with this. You saw my son personally. I mean, it was the texture thing. It was just
some
not
kids,
wanting
you see them physically react to these you put a banana in front of them and they're turning and they're hiding from it because they're scared, or they, if they have oral motor deficits. So maybe one time they were eating a piece of chicken and they weren't able to manipulate it and chew it well enough. And then they swallow and they're choking and they're gagging, and it's creating this negative experience with this food. And then now I'm like, oh no, I'm not going to do that again. And so figuring out, how can we teach them that, to chew or to move the food, to manipulate it, or, but if it is, picky, we have to start with just desensitization too. So like, if they're super resistant, they don't even, now we're done. We're not going to touch that chicken anymore. We have to work on going back and tolerating it on our tray and touching it and smelling it and kissing it and licking it and decreasing that adverse reaction that, we're physiologically feeling.
Yeah.
So
no, totally. That was going to be my next question. Like, what is something that you do to help a child overcome those, negative fears of the food experience that they had.
Yeah.
And like, how would you help a child? Let's say they're having this like an issue chewing. And like, what is something that you would do or like kind of let a parent know at home to help like with their chewing?
Yeah. So, we go from a sensory standpoint too. So like if they're not willing to, touch the food or smell the food or kiss the food, we're just playing with the food, or we're playing with dry beans instead of cooked beans, and getting lots of sensory play and input to decrease. And then for chewing, practicing with, if they don't have molars, we want, practicing with foods that can be easily squashed, so that, they, with their gums, they can munch it up. So starting there, teaching that chewing skill even before they have molars. But we work a lot with like veggie straws. So they're good little finger-sized foods that you can hold and work on that munching, chewing skill on those back molars. But it just takes a lot of repetition and practice, and parents have to go home and work with the kids too. We have specialized tools that we use too, chewy tubes that are silicone and can help with chewing and strengthening the jaw, and working on strengthening those muscles.
That's great. So what would you consider a successful treatment, and how do you help families integrate that advice into the home?
Yeah. So structure is really important. A lot, having a mealtime structure. We're having 3 meals a day at certain times and 2 snacks in between, and then only water to drink in between those meal times. So starting by creating a good mealtime structure, so that kids know what to expect. And, meal times are social and should be fun. And we sit down at a table and we're all eating together. Sometimes it's hard, and parents, I'm going to feed you and then put you to bed, and then I'm going to eat dinner, because that's, it's been a long, crazy day, which is understandable. But we want to create those. We want to show our kids that eating is fun and enjoyable, and show them that we can eat lots of different things. And so creating those mealtime structures, I think, is like one of the beginning steps too. And like just making sure that we're eating together and we have these set times, and we're not grazing throughout the day. So we have some hunger cues.
Yeah. I know I still need to work on that. I think it's hard sometimes as a parent to implement those things, especially when we kind of have bad behaviors ourselves.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It really makes us look at ourselves. I mean, I'm a parent too. So like some nights I'm like looking in the refrigerator, I'm like, what am I going to feed my kids? And then like, I want to get them to bed. And so it can become hectic, but I see it affect, the way my kids eat and stuff, and they enjoy sitting down and having the conversations and stuff. And I often create dinners that sometimes I know they're not going to eat, but that's what's for dinner. And, I know that there's like chicken in it, and they've had chicken before. So I'm like, you have to, smell it, there's never any pressure to eat it, but I'm also not a line cook. And I try to tell parents, like, give them something preferred that that they're going to eat, and then something else, so that they have the option to explore other things too. And you're not just catering to everything that they want to eat all the time, and you become that line chef and you're making 3 different meals for 3 different people.
Yeah, I feel like that's what I'm still doing.
Yeah.
Like I'm doing hard. Like the ABC nuggets and rice. And then sometimes I forget to even eat myself, because I'm just so focused on like wanting him to eat. Because I mean, like my son literally just tried eggs the other day, and I've put it in front of him like over 100 times. And I literally cried with joy, because
it takes something like 10 tastes and tries of something to actually figure out if you like it or not. So if, it takes a long time sometimes.
Yeah. And also as parents, I feel like we give up like if we're not seeing the results that we want to see, and especially the world we live in, we want like instant gratification, like instant results. Like I feel like sometimes we do end up like giving up on like trying that structured thing, and we fall back into like our bad habits. And I know that's something like for me, I need to help with myself. And like what we were saying earlier, it's like, it's totally a reflection of me. It's like, do I have bad eating habits? Like, I mean, I eat in front of him, but like, am I not, we are the example for our children.
Yeah. Right.
So,
and we're the ones creating the meals. So, we're, of course we want them, you don't want them to stop eating or, worry about their weight gain, because a lot of parents do. And, it can be stressful when the kids aren't eating. They're like, how do we get in more calories? How do we, what do we do? They won't stop drinking the bottle. There's a lot of things that just impact, and so we have to look at this big whole picture and make changes in certain areas. And yeah, it takes a lot of commitment from parents at home.
It does. It's hard. I've done it personally. I know one of the things I think that hindered my son was these chocolate milks from Costco, these Orgain Kids chocolate milks, because he wasn't eating like, he always like moved away from the spoon or the fork ever since he was a baby. He stopped taking the bottle at 6 months. And I was like, how am I going to get calories on him?
Yeah.
And then it was these chocolate milks, and he had them so much that his body started rejecting them. And like, thank God for that, because now he's kind of trying foods more. I mean, he's eating
he's
like
hungry more.
Exactly. And, more curious. And it was a blessing in disguise. And plus I wanted him to get off those damn chocolate milks, but it is a struggle. And I definitely feel for parents that have to deal with that, like the super picky eaters. And, and if someone if the child had something go wrong, like, with a food experience, or, God forbid, having to have like a tube down their throat, which is probably not the best experience as your first, time on earth.
Yeah.
So,
I want parents to know, like they're also not, making this problem, like it's not your fault. And, that's why we're here to educate and help you and figure out the problem together too.
Totally. And so do you use like external rewards, like stickers or toys to motivate the child to eat?
So like I encourage, exploring food and playing with food, but sometimes kids benefit from reinforcement. So a token board or a sticker chart, especially like for trying new foods. So, encouraging for a reward system. Yeah, I think sometimes they really benefit from that. And I've seen success. I also like, fun plates that have like different parts that you can put the food in. It has a spinner. We play with a lot of food. So like just making food fun.
Yeah. And I think that's an important part, is to make it fun and to let them know, like, this is what we need to like nourish our bodies and to help grow and be big and strong. And, be like mommy or daddy one day.
Yeah. So sometimes it's just picky eating and sometimes it's, the other stuff. So, but we figure it out, and hopefully the kid, expands their diet. That's our ultimate goal. So it's so exciting when a kid tries a new food.
Oh, I know. I mean, I never thought I would cry over my son eating eggs and him being like, this is so good, and ate all of them. Like, I've been trying to get him to eat eggs forever.
Yeah.
And I mean, you've seen him personally. He's super picky. Like, if I do one thing wrong, it's like, I'm never going to go back to that again. Like if I put the wrong peanut butter on the peanut butter and jelly sandwich, it's like, never again is he touching it.
Like I said, kids can be brand specific too. So yeah, we work on things like chaining to like different brands and stuff. So
how do you do that? How do you get a kid
just like starting to incorporate, like showing them the similarities of them and like side by side, and then it's still on the same bread that they like, and maybe it has chunky and versus the smooth or whatever. And we just, start to show them a little bit of the difference and see if we can try and get into new varieties.
Yeah. So do you have any last words about that? Like anything you want to touch on specifically that you think the parents or audience should know about eating for children?
I think we covered a lot. I just, again, going back to like the 4 different components, it can be a medical component, a behavioral component, a sensory component, or oral motor component, or, a combination of those. And so, if you feel like your child, is showing deficits in one of those areas, to, reach out to somebody for help so that, you can figure out how to get them eating more.
Yeah. Well, and I will have, if you're in the Nevada, Henderson area, I will link the TikTok therapy link if you want to, talk to Cara.
Yeah, we have a great team. We all love working together. We love feeding. We love those little kiddos. So.
Yeah, I've personally been there and it really is a great facility. So I'm going to I usually ask guests these 4 questions, but since we're going to be doing a 2-part, I'm going to split the questions in half. Okay. So the first question is, who and what inspires you?
My kids inspire me. Yeah, they just make me look at life differently now. And, I went back to school later in life, after my kids. So, I wanted to show them, that a woman can be a mom and a working, woman. So they've inspired me to, further my career and stuff.
Yeah. Oh my God. Your face totally lights up when you talk about that. Yeah. It's beautiful to see. Okay. And the second question is, what is something you wished you knew when you were younger?
Oh, to not be so crazy.
Isn't that all of us?
I don't know. Like I said, I went to school later in life. I wish that I did school earlier and did all that stuff. But I just wish that I don't know. Not to be so crazy, mellow out a little bit.
Yeah, no, I feel you. I mean, before kids, I'd go to the parties all the time. Not saying that's what you were doing for crazy. Yeah. All right. Well, Cara, thank you so much for coming on here and talking about food therapy, kind of give some advice and tips to parents about picky eaters and things that they can do. And again, like I said, I will link the TikTok therapy website below if you are in the Nevada, Henderson area. Otherwise, I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for listening.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Not Your Mama's Podcast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you in the next one.